So
Okay.
I brought Josh Norman from the Mountains and the Sea podcast back to chat with me about Baby I'm a Star, the eighth track on the Purple Rain album. Welcome back to the show, Josh.
Thanks, Jason. It's great to be with you again.
Yeah, appreciate you joining me. You and Christy have been invaluable guests for my podcast over the past year or so. And this Baby I'm a Star it's really upbeat. It's fun. It's, you dance to it. It's got a great drum machine beat, that's like really hard pounding, a great
Yep.
synthesizer line. You got, instead of guitar solos, you got a synth solo towards the end
Yeah.
of the song. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a fun song. I mean, do you personally like this song a lot, Josh?
It was one of the first Prince songs that I really got into. I was like 10 years old when Purple Rain came out and had actually heard the end of Delirious on the radio or at a friend's house and heard that little baby cry at the end. And then when Purple Rain came out, actually my mother had the soundtrack, and so I would borrow the cassette. I still remember that white cassette with the black imprints and the little flowers on it from the film. Great illustrations on the cassette. And Baby I'm a Star is my favorite song from the soundtrack. And of course I heard the soundtrack long before I was allowed to see the film. So yeah, I would say that, from the beginning, it's just an easy song to hook you in, whether you're a Prince fan or not. It's so yeah, it was originally one of my favorite from the movie before I was, probably mature enough to appreciate some of the other songs.
Yeah, and it's interesting that it really struck you right away as one of the stronger songs or as one of, your personal favorites. Because for me, I think for Baby I'm a Star was a song that I've grown to enjoy more over time.
Oh, really? So that's the
Yeah,
opposite of me.
right. It really kind of is the opposite. So Baby I'm a Star, for whatever reason, didn't grab me quite as much as many of the other songs on Purple Rain when I was listening to it, in the 80s very
Hmm.
frequently, and I replay it over and over and over. And as it got towards the end of side two with Baby I'm a Star and Purple Rain, for
Yeah.
whatever reason, I enjoyed both of them. Don't get me wrong, but I think the length of Purple Rain
Hmm.
and with Baby I'm a Star, I guess I wasn't as the message wasn't as deep for me, and which is kind of weird to sound for when you're talking about a kid. Like usually children aren't attracted to the lyrics, right? A lot of times it's the sounds, it's the music. At least for me personally, and it took me more like to my adulthood before I started to pay attention to lyrics and start paying attention to themes and messages being conveyed in those lyrics.
Yeah.
And Baby I'm a Star is more of, it has fun lyrics, and we're going to go through that and explain kind of how fun they actually are and how they can put a smile on your face. But I think I was always a little bit more attracted to some of the darker themes of this album, songs like When Doves Cry
Uh-huh.
and, Darling Nikki, Computer Blue, really kind of being angsty and
Wow. What a dark
emotionally
soul
driven.
of a child you were.
It kind of sounds like I was, which is kind of weird because that's not typically how it works. Usually you have to
Right.
go through some stuff before you can really relate to those deeper, more emotional songs. And I hadn't gone through stuff, quote unquote stuff at that time. So I don't know why. I think I just was attracted to it for whatever reason.
Cool. Our
Nowadays,
stories are very opposite then, because I feel the opposite way. Like I was just immediately attracted to it because of the upbeatness. I love the synthesizer and the upbeat, danceable music. It just was like an immediate hook for me. And it took me longer to even appreciate like classics like When Doves Cry. I appreciate now more than when they were, in their heyday in the
mhm.
mid 80s.
I think I might have liked this song more had I seen the movie right away,
Yeah.
but I was too young to really watch Purple Rain when it came out
Hmm.
initially. So by the time I finally watched it, and I say finally, meaning like I watched it around 86, I was still probably too young, but I
Yeah.
watched it regardless. Um, because I was able to find a friend with HBO and I could sneak over to his house and we watched it
There you
during
go.
the day when his parents were gone in the summer at work.
Yep.
But I think I would have liked it better because in the film, I mean, its intention of the film is to kind of put a nice happy ending bow on the story.
Exactly.
Throughout most of the film, the kid and Morris Day are mortal enemies, like they hate each other.
Oh
But
yeah,
everything, the performance of Purple Rain in the film kind of repairs their relationship magically,
it
and
does.
and you see it's fun, and when he's performing "Baby I'm a Star" in the film, there's a brief shot of Morris and Jerome in the crowd just like jamming
Yeah.
out, and they've got big smiles on their face.
Yep. Totally see it in my head. Yes.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, well, I guess they're friends now.
Ah, the
Cool.
healing power of music.
The power of the kid and the revolution.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's positioned in the film as the closing song, as I mentioned, like the happy ending provides a happy ending through song. He's got a smile on his face throughout like the entire performance.
Yeah. Very
There's
fun.
no angst at all in this song. It's just look at me, I'm having fun. The band's having fun. We're all getting along. Everybody's enjoying themselves,
Yeah.
and everything's going to be okay.
That's right. Chin up.
Yeah. All right. So as I kind of mentioned, the song is a great companion to the film, but as its standalone, and just looking at the lyrics, which is what we're gonna do, it's a bit of a like a I don't know like a self-fulfilling prophecy for Prince, the musician, not the kid, but the musician. So the history of the song, I'm sure you know a bit about it, and I just did some research before coming on here because I didn't realize how far back this song went in terms of its genesis in
Right.
Prince's catalog. So I guess the song was written long before Purple Rain. Is that what you
Yeah.
understand as well?
Yeah. Something like 1981, possibly.
Yeah, yeah. And you got to think about where Prince was in his career in 1981. This
Yeah.
was after
Not.
Controversy, and he hadn't even
Yeah.
released 1999 yet.
Right.
Um,
Definitely not a star yet.
no, not really. I mean, he had
Mhm.
some underground hits and had a semi big hit with "I Want to Be Your Lover," but to call himself a megastar, or to say was Prince a big star in 1981, the answer would be no.
Yeah.
He was known in some circles, but not from a global superstar like he was after Purple Rain.
Definitely.
So I think, it's interesting in that way, as I mentioned, kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, writing a song talking about, has a career trajectory going upwards and upwards, like very upward mobility. I'm going to sing about this. I'm going to write a song about becoming successful and being a mega star and having everything that I've ever wanted in the assumption that that's going to happen for me.
Yeah,
That's
it's
really
interesting
cool.
that you mentioned, his one big hit up to that point was "I Want to Be Your Lover," and as I was going over these lyrics, it sort of seemed like an updated version of "I Want to Be Your Lover," kind of a statement of who I am, and this is what I am, and this is what I'm going to be, and this is what I want to be. There are some similarities there.
Yeah, when we get to the first verse, there's going to be one line in particular that I'm sure that you're already thinking about. That we're
Yep.
going to say, yeah, that's a definite callback to "I Want to Be Your Lover" for sure.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
before we get to
I'd also read. Sorry to interrupt you.
no,
I
no, go
also
ahead.
read that like in even like the first of early scripts for Purple Rain, that "Baby I'm a Star" was part of the plan. So it was something that he had, like you said, written years before. And as usual, he had these things in his back pocket and seemed to know in his head where he wanted it, especially for what was up to that point like his most important project for sure for his entire career.
Yeah, the film itself has several plots, right? It's got a relationship plot with Apollonia. It's got family plot dealing with his abusive dad and his mom and their relationship. And then it's got the another plot regarding his career
Yep.
and how at the start of the film, "Let's Go Crazy." He's playing "Let's Go Crazy," and the crowd seemingly is really into it. That's a very crowd pleasing song. So you get the sense that he's doing pretty well on the local circuit at least.
Yeah.
But then as the movie goes on and his troubles continue to mount, his music starts to reflect that, and Billy's got that line about nobody understands your music but yourself, or nobody's digging you.
Yeah.
And so you kind of get a sense that Prince is no longer, or I keep saying that I've done that for like every single episode that I've done for this freaking album. I keep saying Prince when I'm referring to the kid.
Yeah, the character. Sure.
Yeah, and the character, and so his career in the film is starting to take a nosedive.
Yeah.
And then finally, once again, the healing power of the song Purple Rain has kind of won everybody back over to his side again, and he's now looked at as, a viable artist that can stick around, and not only stick around in the local scene, First Avenue. He's not going to get booted out anymore, we have to assume, but he could potentially, make that next leap into at least, outside of the city limits of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and expand his reach. Yeah. So, with that plot, Baby I'm a Star definitely works. For sure works for that aspect of the film and the plot of the film. So I'm sure when Prince was thinking about this movie in his head that he wanted to make, it was going to end with him becoming, or at least the assumption is, he's destined for greater things.
Yeah. Yeah, and he does it by, like you said, Purple Rain is the kind of culmination of it all, where there's this acceptance of him as an artist, but he also does it by giving credit to other members of the band too, which sort of opens his mind and heart in the minds and hearts of people watching him, and I think that made a big difference too, at least plot-wise.
Right, because they had to tie up all of the loose ends.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, his relationship with Apollonia had to be tied up. The question of whether or not the Revolution was going to make the cut for, maintaining its status in First Avenue. The family stuff had to be kind of wrapped up in somehow. So I Would Die For You is kind of, during that song, it gives all the little scenes to show him in the hospital, showing that his dad hadn't died yet, apparently.
Yes. Yeah, he survived a blunt gunshot to the head.
At least for Purple Rain, Graffiti Bridge kind of rewrites that ending. But anyway, we're not a Graffiti Bridge. We're in Purple Rain territory, and as its own thing, people leaving the movie theater are led to believe that his dad lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the songs on this album really do tell a story, and they all have a place in the film. And Baby I'm a Star is really like the only one. I mean, maybe Let's Go Crazy, but that has those religious overtones and subtext. Yep. Baby I'm a Star is really the only one that just speaks to stardom, like success and musical success and becoming something greater than where you started in doing that. Do you agree with that, or can you think of any other example?
No, I think this is probably the most straightforward song on the album too, where there's not some kind of, I Would Die For You is sort of sung from the perspective of, Jesus or a savior. When Doves Cry is, it's a fairly clear message, but it is kind of lyrically more creative, where this is a pretty straightforward. It's probably the most straightforward song on the album, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, this along with maybe Take Me With You are the two most straightforward songs, I would say, from a lyrical standpoint.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But one thing that isn't straightforward is the backward message that's used for both the beginning and the end of the song.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me because unlike Darling Nikki, where that is really kind of highlighted at the very end, and there's very little musical accompaniment, it's just essentially the choir of Prince singing backwards with some wind and rain.
Yeah, kind of an outro. Yeah.
But in this, the backward messaging, the backward masking that's being done on Baby I'm a Star, at the beginning and the end, it's the same message.
Yeah.
And it's kind of buried in the music somewhat. So
very much so. I remember hearing it, early on and just thinking I couldn't understand what was being said. That it was a spoken thing, but it was said in a weird way. Or I just couldn't understand. I didn't even realize it was a backwards message. Back when I was first hearing it for the first time as essentially a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, me neither. Me neither. Honestly, I always just assumed it was meant to be like ambient crowd noise,
Yeah.
like people just talking in a crowd, because this is one of the three songs at the end of the record that were performed live, and most of those live recordings were used for the final mix with just some overdubs and some additional stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess I might have thought it could have been added later, or there could have been a
Hmm.
microphone out in the crowd meant to just pick up some people talking. I mean, I didn't really think too much about it, other than I just had no idea what was being said. If there was any intention that we were supposed to know what was being said, if it was
Yeah,
just
totally.
gibberish.
And if it was or wasn't Prince saying these things too, because it kind of sounds like his voice, like he's kind of amping up the crowd or something. Of course, we know it's not him now.
Yeah, but do you know who it is? Because I haven't been able to figure out exactly who it is.
Oh, I was pretty certain that it was Wendy, especially
Okay.
based on let's just put dropping it into some software and running it backwards to hear it again in prep for talking to you today. To me, it sounds like California accent Wendy all the
Okay.
way.
Okay. Yeah, I
That's
wasn't
that's
sure.
that's where I'm putting my money. I mean, it's not obviously credited to anyone, and it's hard to see. I was looking on Prince Vault, and it's not very clear. But listening to it and having listened to Wendy's voice, if you go back and especially listen to a song like Eggplant, where Wendy's kind of talking in her almost accentuated California accent, that's exactly what it sounds like to me.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I'll take that for sure, because for me it sounds like a woman now.
Yes.
Not that Prince couldn't have sped up his vocals to make it sound more feminine, but I
Hmm.
don't think it is. I think it's just an actual woman's voice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then and you think of who was in Prince's camp at the time that could have provided vocals. Could have been Wendy, could have been Lisa, could have been Jill.
Yep.
But I've seen more than one account suggesting that it's Wendy. Yours isn't the first. I've seen all three, to be honest. But I think everybody who has put their opinion on who is saying these lines is just guessing. Really, there's no
Yeah, totally.
proof.
I think Christy and I've shared with you we had a chance to meet all the members of the Revolution twice, and both
Hmm.
times I left regretting not coming more prepared with questions like, "Hey, Wendy, was that you saying this in Baby I'm a Star?" and getting like an answer from someone who would truly know.
Yeah, and the fact that and so I've been mistaken before, because I've mentioned how in the Darling Nikki episode, how those lyrics really kind of sparked the advent of the PMRC and explicit
Yeah,
lyrics labeling. But I mean, there's no curse words in that song. I mean,
true.
he says masturbate,
Yep.
but that's not like one of, what I would consider a curse word. It's a word meant to imply, it has sexual connotations, but there's no F bombs. There's there's nothing like that. Nothing like
Oh yeah,
in
there's even worse terms than masturbation that Prince had already used.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and we all can cite, the end of Let's Pretend We're Married off 1999 is where he
Yeah.
gets real explicit. But now, because I don't think of this backwards message when I think of the songs, because it's A, backwards, and B, totally buried
Yeah.
in the mix. So, but there's two F bombs in here.
Yes, there are.
So, so for those of you listening, if you've never bothered to go look up what is being said at the beginning and end of Baby I'm a Star, I'll read it for you.
Go for it.
Okay. Like, what the fuck did they know? All their taste is in their mouth. Really, what the fuck do they know? Come on, baby, let's go crazy. And I just find that funny, because it kind of like doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of
Yeah.
what is going on in the song.
Yeah, totally out of context.
Yeah, it's really kind of bizarre. Like, yeah, sure, the backward message of Darling Nikki makes no sense in context of what is being told up until that point either. But then as its own separate little thing, it's kind of a cool let's just put it this way: the backward message in Darling Nikki is way more righteous than
Yeah.
than what's being
Yes.
said here, which is way more indignant.
Oh
To
yeah.
me, this comes across as super indignant, and it's just like, I don't know, like it's somebody's reaction to some haters out there that are, dissing Prince or whatever.
Yeah, it does seem out of place. Like I guess if you say like in the context of the movie up to this point, yes, he's been told, like you said, your music makes sense to no one but yourself. So he has faced critics. So maybe this is sort of fitting in that regard, as here's my response to people who don't like my music. All your taste is in your mouth. What do you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It certainly could fit for the movie for that in what you just mentioned, or even just in general, Prince's career up to that point, because Dirty Mind was an album that left a lot of people confused, I think, especially some of his really early fans that were big into the disco sounds he was putting forth on For You and Prince, and then all of a sudden
right.
go to Dirty Minds, like, what? This isn't what I signed up for.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and what he experienced opening for the Rolling Stones also.
Yeah, yeah,
He
good
had
point.
definitely experienced a little pushback in his life.
Yeah. And so he was basically like, you could read that as being just like a statement against, his critics, essentially. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't get my music, that's okay, because all your taste is in your mouth, and, you basically have shit for taste anyway. So I'm going to keep
Yep.
doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yes.
So, but 99% of the people on this planet that owned this album in the 80s had no idea what was being said anyway, so it's
Yep.
kind of lost.
Yeah. Probably didn't care either.
No, no. I mean, I didn't. I didn't care for a
No,
long
me
time.
either. Me either. I wasn't in the right spot to care.
Yeah, and trying to figure out, to even know that it was a backward message, and then finding the technology or tools to play it.
Yeah, really, the only way
Opposite
then
direction.
would have been to have vinyl and spin it backwards.
Yeah, and I tried that with Darling Nikki, and with very little success. So there was no way I was going to be able to pick up this with
Yeah.
all of the other stuff going on in the background to
Right.
pick up the actual words. And honestly, like what I just read is just what's been transcribed. Uh, I don't know if there's any proof that this is exactly what's being said here. I haven't read anybody who recorded it and says, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah, I found the same, probably the same, just lyric notation that you did. But there's, you can drop it into, if you've got Audacity, which is free software, you can open Baby I'm a Star in it and select an area and play it in reverse and hear it pretty clearly. I'll say, too, the way that, assuming I'm right, which I always do, assuming that it is Wendy, the way she ends it with "Let's go crazy," she doesn't say it. There's like a weird pause between "go" and "crazy" that kind of
Yeah.
throws you off a little bit, and that could also be intentional too, to just make it more, difficult to uncover.
So then getting into the song proper, the first verse is, hey, look me over. Tell me, do you like what you see? Hey, I ain't got no money, but honey, I'm rich on personality. Hey, check it all out. Baby, I know what it's all about. Before the night is through, you will see my point of view, even if I have to scream and shout. Okay, so I think, as I kind of mentioned earlier, there's a line in this first verse that is a very obvious callback to "I Want to Be Your Lover."
Right.
And it's the third line. Hey, I ain't got no money.
That's right. You
Because
nailed
isn't
it.
that like literally the first line of "I Want to Be Your Lover"?
Yeah, I don't think he says "hey," but here he's loosened up a little and is trying to
Yeah.
get your attention more. But yes, that's the very first line.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. He does say "hey" 3 times in here, where he's just like, pay attention, pay attention.
Yeah, he's trying, and I kind of thought that was a little bit of very smart lyric writing too. If he's someone who's up and coming, he is trying to garner attention. He is trying to snap his fingers and make people do a double take when they see him or hear his music. So calling out this "hey," I thought was pretty smart in the lyrics. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm. In the fact, the first two lines, "Look me over, tell me do you like what you see," it's, I mean, if you're looking at the lyrics as like how it's structured, these are like very visual, like, do my visuals, does my presentation, my visual presentation appeal to you?
Yeah.
Is this something that you can get down with? And Prince's his visual presentation in the late 70s, early 80s, especially the early 80s, Dirty Mind through, I don't know, like, Around the World in a Day parade era, was atypical, I think, for pop stars at the time. I mean, he kind of set the trend. You saw more people dressing like Prince after the success of Purple Rain, with the lace and the frills and the really kind of hyper gothic / romantic costumes that he was wearing at the time. But up until that point, he was really playing around with a lot of visuals. Like, I'm just going to basically be in underwear, or I'm going to have this long trench coat that kind of gives the impression of like a flasher or something, like somebody really kind of seedy.
Right.
And then going into the really kind of feminine look with his clothing, and having the Revolution all have like that those bangs that hung down over their eye. Yeah. So like the visuals were a big part of what he was presenting at the time. I think much more than it was maybe later in his career. Part of that's maybe youth, and I don't know. Just also trying to figure out what's going to stick with audiences. What is it going to make him stand out? Because the music is going to stand out. I think he had confidence that his music was going to stand out. But we all kind of know, unfortunately, like a lot of it, especially in MTV era, the visuals were important too, to really kind of get that extra play and get that to stand out amongst the crowd and the pack. You had to look a little bit different and show something different.
For sure, and I mean that was a concern, I guess, that he started to address with I don't know if I'm sure you did listen to the 1999 official podcast where Bobby Z was talking about the first time that he, brought out the purple glittery trench coat, and he was like, "Oh, well now we're serious. This is going to be some serious show business," and he kind of built on that from there.
Yeah, exactly. Show business. I mean, the first word in there is show. The first syllable, show. Right. So it's a big part of that is the visuals. And I really feel like Prince understood that. And, as he became bigger and bigger, I mean, he was always a showman, don't get me wrong. But, after a certain point, the visuals became less flashy. I mean, even when he was in the 2000s and when he had like the suits and he was really Natalie dressed and looking, impeccable, like from a presentation standpoint, that's still a show. That's still a look.
For sure. Yep.
It's just not the same look that he wasn't trying to be something that he was 20 years ago, because that, people's appearance change over time. Your sense of style changes, trends change. You just gotta go with what's going on at the time. And MTV era, early 80s, it was very, how can we shock people? What can we do? What can be done to make us stand out? And just wearing suits, like the time, that was their thing, and for him to do that and for Revolution to do that, especially when you have two members that are female, that wasn't going to work,
Yep. Yeah, he found a way to make them all match.
Yeah, right. They all basically looked the same.
It was his clothing, and also like, iconish type things like the painting of the woman's eyes, nose, and lips on his bedroom window that you see, or like on the wall that was throughout the film too, and is in the When Doves Cry video. There's all these things that are just trying to make memorable statements, wherever he could.
Yeah, he absolutely was. Let's see, anything else in the first verse? Talks about the visuals, talks about he doesn't have any money, just like the exact same line that was used in I Want to Be Your Lover. Rich on personality. That line always stuck out to me. I loved that line.
Yeah.
I'm rich on personality, because he kind of like pauses. Honey, I'm rich on personality.
Yeah.
And I just like how he delivers that line. You just kind of, you're waiting for it. It's like another beat. You're waiting for rich on what? Because he just said you have no money. So
Right.
what is
What do you have?
what else? Oh, personality, duh, of course.
Oh, cool.
Because
Okay.
that was kind of also what he was selling a lot at the time to get people interested in him. I mean, how can you be a movie star if you don't have charisma, a
Yeah.
personality that's going to translate?
Yeah, he's got what counts and can build on it from there, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's essentially what he's saying in his first verse. He's got a
Yeah.
look, he's got personality. Doesn't really talk much about his talent yet, but certainly he's definitely
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, look at me," which is evident with all the haze thrown in.
Yeah, he's definitely confident.
Oh, for sure. The song is all about confidence and
Yeah.
exhibiting that confidence.
Oh yeah. I was also wanting to mention that I always have to remind myself that these are based on live recordings. By the time you get to Sign of the Times and you have the live recording, albeit also heavily overdubbed of It's Gonna Be a Beautiful Night, you always kind of think of that as like, oh, that's the first kind of live song that Prince put on an album. And you've got 1/3 of the tracks on Purple Rain are essentially live recordings, but you can really tell, of course, that they've been heavily overdubbed because he sings with himself. A lot of times he does his own background vocals, which obviously wouldn't happen live. But also, before he even gets to the first verse where he counts it off, 1, 2, 3, you can hear him do one of these "ow" in the background, like in the left channel at 11 seconds into the song. And it's always stuck out to me, and I remember being a kid thinking, well, how is he singing that part and also singing these other parts before, it ever occurred to me, oh, well, you can record multiple tracks and put them together. But there are a lot of telltale signs in this song that he just didn't seem to care that it lost its authenticity as a live track. It was more important to him to polish it, to create this almost like studio live kind of version of the song, which I always thought was kind of innovative in itself for, I'm doing my first movie, got my first soundtrack, and I'm going to take live songs and make them sound more studio-ish. There was record a song without a bass line. He did take a ton of chances here. So, like you said, it's all about confidence, and he's exhibited it up to track 8 pretty well here.
Yeah. And doing live songs is a tricky proposition when you're talking about making an album, like turning them into album tracks. And this was the time, this was the moment in his career. He felt like I can't screw this up, right? So
yeah,
I've got to make, even though I want this live feel for these songs, because it's basically the last 3 songs in the movie. They're not in the exact same order on the album, but because Baby I'm a Star, I'm glad it's not the last song on the record.
Okay.
Personally, I don't like the idea of Baby I'm a Star being the last song on the album. But nevertheless, the presentation still needed to be like perfect. And how can you get more perfect than adding overdubs and doing exactly what you want in the studio on top of the live recording? And you can really get a very strong live recording that's album worthy, but it is going to be limited to what you can do on stage. And the stuff that you describe, I can't imagine the song stripped down, just because I've heard this so many times, but it would be kind of cool. Well, I mean, obviously there's the version that is available on the DVDs, the VHS Now DVD version of the Purple Rain concert from Syracuse in '85. And I remember watching, I think, because I don't know for a fact, and I haven't been able to find out anything else, but I'm pretty sure MTV played that back in the day.
Yeah, or it was simulcast somehow. I don't know what the broadcast situation was, but it isn't even part of the handwritten part of the credits at the very beginning that on whatever date, 1985, the world experienced Prince and the Revolution. Yeah, so it was definitely broadcast.
Yeah, so it must have been the same thing that I saw when I was a kid, when they would play that concert.
Hmm.
And that was before I had ever really gone to a concert. So it was fascinating to me to see like these versions of the songs done in a way that was different than the recorded version. Same but different at the same time. And
Oh yeah.
I didn't know what to think about it, you know? Didn't know what to think. I didn't know if I liked it or not. I liked my, officially recorded versions, my studio versions, my
Yeah.
album versions. I didn't know if I liked all this extra jamming going on and taking a 4-minute song and turning it into a 10-minute song. And
Yeah, and putting a saxophone in it, and
yeah, I didn't. I mean, obviously now today, I think it's great, but when you're a kid, I was a lot more closed-minded. Let's put it that way.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, let's see. The second half of this first verse talks about before the night is through, you will see my point of view, even if I have to scream and shout. And he actually screams and shouts as
Oh yeah.
says that line, which is cool. He screams several times in the song. Actually,
He
there's a
does.
great
Lots of
song.
good screams.
I think like the line before the night is through, you'll see my point of view can even have a double meaning because it's Prince and you can always find some alternate sexual meanings in some of the lyrics. I can see
Yeah.
those two lines in particular. If you're gonna say like what out of this first verse could be construed as maybe having a sexual alternate meaning, it would be those two lines. Before the night is
Yeah.
through, you'll see my point of view. I don't know if anybody else has ever thought of it that way. I'm sure they have, but
Yeah, I mean, you're a little twisted, but that's good.
we've already established this, Josh. We've already established this.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the first verse you wanted to bring up or discuss?
You do have a little bit of a double meaning here if you look at the backmasked part of, dismissing critics. What do they know? Really, what do they know? And then you get to this end of the first verse, and Prince says, well, I'm going to convince you, even if you don't know, and if it takes me screaming and shouting to convince you, I'm going to do that too. So he's not completely dismissive of critics or saying just go away. He's almost inviting them to hang around and check him out and give him a chance to prove himself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of it from like anything from my own personal standpoint because I'm not Prince. I can't do what he was thinking, but I also have always kind of had like I'm going to show people wrong. I'm going to prove people wrong, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're telling me that I can't do something or if something that I've done isn't valuable or that good, then my initial reaction is to take that criticism and then kind of use it as motivation. And I'm sure like that's a little bit what it is, but it's not like, okay, well, even though the backmasking part says basically middle finger, screw you, I don't really care what you say. Yeah, but you kind of do, I think he kind of does. He cares.
He does. I think he made a career of, trying to find, he's like an athlete, trying to find motivation and to stay driven. So I think anything he could find that would be bulletin board material, he would grasp onto while he could and make it last.
I mean, a song like Billy Jack Bitch was completely written in a response to criticism, right? So
Yeah.
we know that he cared.
Oh yeah, and he was kind of at some of his best, doing his best work when he was angry or felt like he had something to prove.
For sure. I would agree with that. Okay, so then after the first verse, the chorus is pretty simple. Baby, I'm a star. Might not know it now, baby, but I'm a star. I don't want to stop till I reach the top. Sing it. And then, so then in parentheses, it's we are a star because that's, I get Wendy and Lisa singing that background, or Jill too. I don't know who's exactly all on that, but it's female voices singing "We Are a Star," and I never knew that was what was being said there. I always thought it was just a repeat of "Baby, I'm a Star."
Oh yeah, I thought it was a "We Are All a Star."
Yeah, you're right. It is.
Something along those lines.
Yep, "We Are All a Star" is what's written on the Purple Rain lyric sheet, and I've had to do this multiple times during these Purple Rain episodes. Refer back to my vinyl copy of Purple Rain, which has I don't know if have you seen it?
I have seen the original 1984 edition or a reprint of it. I have not seen the deluxe edition that came out a few years ago on
I'm
vinyl.
sure it's the
Which
same.
do you have?
Yeah, it's both. I have both versions of the vinyl, but it's
Yeah.
the same. Essentially,
Okay.
though, it's all of the lyrics written in Prince's kind of half cursive writing
Yeah.
in purple and printed over kind of a shimmery, watery background,
Mm-hmm.
like Minnetonka possibly, and it's hard as hell to read. And so I don't use this when I'm going through these lyric episodes because it's just too hard to read. So I go back then to, various websites that have transcribed lyrics. And inevitably, for whatever reason, some of these lyric websites still get it wrong, even though there's
Oh, yeah.
printed lyrics out
Yep.
there to reference, and it's annoying as hell.
Yeah. Christy has made it her personal mission to correct those as she finds them.
Oh, well, tell her to go to genius.com and tell them to fix it from We Are a Star to We Are All a Star, because that is what is written on Purple Rain vinyl.
Adding that to our Basecamp project right now.
All right, go Christy, because that's annoying. I mean, I get it when there's like no printed lyrics out there and people are just doing their best guess, but come on, I mean, this has been out there for decades.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, We Are All a Star. And the one thing about the chorus, besides the fact that, that part is sung not by Prince, and it's also something that I misheard for many years. Also the fact that the incorrect grammar used.
Yeah, the purposeful incorrect grammar.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're very purposeful. But I'm a star. Baby, but I'm a star. And that was another line that confused me a bit as I was a kid, because I was pretty good in English class. I knew how to spell, I knew grammar, and I knew that wasn't right.
Sure. Yeah. But you can see now what he was doing, playing with words and rhyming with star. It would just sound incredibly weird now if it was Baby, but I'm
a star. Because then he had to put a different word. Might not know it now. Baby, but I am. Doesn't rhyme. So yeah, you'd have to completely change up the chorus.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Grammar nerds be damned. I'm just going to do it this way anyway.
Right.
Anything else about the chorus before I move on to verse 2?
Just the way they say, or he says star after that. Baby, but I'm a...
Star.
It sounds to me like char, like he's burned something.
See, now I never heard that. That's funny.
I have a hard time hearing the letter S there at all. Baby, but I'm a char. That's what I hear. It sounds like a CH to me.
Okay. All right. I'm sure you're not the only one. Can't be the only one.
I don't know. I know what he is saying, but that's what I hear. That's what I sing when I'm in the car and the song comes on for the 17 millionth time that I've heard it.
Char.
That's how I sing it. Baby, I'm a char.
Yeah, and you say that night when he says sing it. And they say, we are all a star. I say, baby, I'm a star.
There you go.
That's what I always heard.
See?
I didn't know we are all a star. I mean, because for me, the song is very singular. Like, it's talking about
for
himself.
him.
It's talking about himself. It's very first person oriented, and that's why I never really understood or heard that, because I didn't think it was like, I'm a star. Oh wait, we're all stars. Because I never got that from this song.
Totally, you don't really hear it as a let me lift you all up and make you all realize your value. It's definitely more of a self promo piece.
Yeah, it's like, I'm the shit. Pay attention to me.
Yeah.
But I get like why he doesn't sing that line if it's We Are All a Star. It's the band singing it.
Right.
It's the female members of it, because that was a big part of the film. They're a band. It wasn't Welcome to On Stage, the kid in the revolution. It's just the revolution. He's the leader, sure. But they're just a band in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like a call and response thing. He's singing I'm a star, and they're, responding with We're all a star.
Yeah. it can be an uplifting statement if you look at it that way. Like,
Yep.
we all have that in us to be stars if we want, which is nice. It's a nice
Yeah.
sentiment.
Yeah.
I don't want to stop till I reach the top. Well, didn't take long after recording the song finally.
No, it did not.
So then verse 2 is, hey, take a listen. Tell me, do you like what you hear? And if it don't turn you on, just say the word and I'm gone. But honey, I know there ain't nothing wrong with your ear. Hey, check it all out. Better look now or it just might be too late. Just might be too late. My luck's gonna change tonight. There's gotta be a better life. Take a picture, sweetie. I ain't got time to wait.
Is it wait or waste? I ain't got time to waste.
I gotta
don't.
go back to the other.
Uh-oh. Get out your lyric
Waste.
sheet.
There's another one. Write that down.
Haha. All
Give
right.
it to Christy. They gotta fix it again. Take a picture, sweetie. I ain't got time to waste.
Yes.
Which makes way more sense.
Yep. Totally.
Sorry.
Oh no, this is another bullet in the Basecamp project.
Yeah, I need to. I wish these lyrics were better printed. this damn vinyl, and I would just look at this and I would know it was right.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So then, verse 2. This song, like I just said, this song makes me smile. I mean, these lyrics are so fun.
Yeah, I mean, this is very much young Prince speak. This is not only the kid character, but I think it's very much his personality.
Yeah. So I like the fact that in the first verse, at least the first two lines, hey, look me over, tell me, do you like what you see? And then in verse 2, hey, take a listen, tell me, do you like what you hear? I gave you the visuals. Here's how I look, here's how the band looks. This is what I'm presenting from a visual standpoint. But now here's the audio standpoint.
Yes.
Listen, this is what I'm recording. Do you like what you hear? And if it don't turn you on, just say the word and I'm gone. And those turn you on, say the word and I'm gone is another one of those like double meanings, of course. It's a little more overt maybe than what I had brought up in the first verse.
Yeah.
But, turn you on obviously has a lot of sexual connotations to it. We're talking about turning somebody else on. It's usually talked about in that manner. But turning somebody on to something also is used as a term to describe like getting somebody interested in something that, you're presenting to them.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And if it don't turn you on, just say the word and I'm gone. I like that, where he's just essentially saying, although I don't believe it for a second.
Yeah.
I don't believe like, okay, I got rejected. I'm done.
Right.
I'm not going to do music. I'm not going to perform music anymore because somebody said they didn't like it.
Yeah. Or I'm on to other things, I guess. This is what I've done. I've got other plans anyway, as another way to look at that. Like, he's not the type of artist that was going to play the same thing over and over again. So if it didn't impress, assuming a female, then he's got other things in his pocket.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's an interesting way to look at it. Those lines, if you don't turn you on, just say the word and I'm gone, can just be like, I'm not going to quit music, but I'm just going to quit bothering you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not vibing with this. You don't get it.
Yep. It's okay.
I'm gone. There's other people out there that are going to enjoy this because I'm confident enough in what I'm doing that if it doesn't turn you on, doesn't mean there aren't a million other people out there that it will. So yeah, I like that.
Me too.
Oh, and the other thing about this verse, and this is just, there's got to be somebody else out there that remembers, and it always cracked me up when I was a kid when I would watch this live version. I swear he said in the line that goes, "Just say the word and I'm gone, but honey, I know ain't nothing wrong with your ear or ears." So I heard him say, put a little ad-lib in there, ain't nothing wrong with your big old ear. I swear to God that he says that in some live version of this song out there.
Yeah.
I didn't make that up. At least, people have memories that can sometimes trick you. Like you swear you remember something as being real or truthful. and
Yeah, I
then
don't.
proven wrong decades later. But
That does not sound wrong to me. I don't know if it was in a concert or like a rehearsal session that is circulating, but I think you are right.
okay, I swear it's there's some. I haven't really been like obsessed with finding a version of the song where he says "Ain't nothing wrong with your big old ear," but because my memory is so I'm so confident in my memory of that because
Yeah.
it was so striking to me. I thought it was hilarious when he ad-libbed that
Uh-huh.
line in there, those words. I always think of that. I can't hear this song without ad-libbing that in my head.
Your big
Just
old ears.
big old ear. I just thought it was just funny as hell. Okay, let's see what else is in this verse. Check it all out. Better look now, or it just might be too late. So, he's kind of getting these lines like it might be too late. My luck's gonna change tonight. It's got to be a better life. Take a picture, sweetie. I ain't got time to waste. I get that. Like I'm up and coming. I'm basically tomorrow's superstar.
Yeah.
So if you want to make time with me, now is that time to do it. If you want to get to know me, if you want to be my girl, if you want to interview me, whatever it is, that if you want my time, use it now because in a little while I'm going to be too big for you or I'm going to be too busy.
Yeah, you're totally right.
That's absolutely what I get from that last half
Yep.
of the verse.
Yep, better make your move or you're going to miss out.
Yep. My luck's going to change tonight. And and as the closing song from the film, that's a really good line to kind of give us as the viewer of the film a hint as to what's to come if we're really to believe the lyrics of the song as being like, I want to know what's going to happen to the kid. Well, it's right here. My luck's going to change tonight. Like this is a life-changing moment potentially for the kid in the film. This performance of Purple Rain, I Would Die for You, and Baby I'm a Star. My luck's going to change tonight. There's got to be a better life. And it's starting tonight. It's starting right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, exudes confidence. He has no doubt where he's headed.
Yeah, and the take a picture, sweetie, I ain't got time to waste line is just funny. It's just funny.
Yeah, totally. Because you think of like take a picture, it'll last longer, like someone's staring at him or something like that. He's more of, hey, you're not going to see me here for long, so take a picture so you have proof that you were in my presence almost.
Yeah. I ain't got time to waste. I'm not going to sit here and just like mug for the camera for hours. So snap it now because I'm moving on.
Yeah.
So after the second verse, then we got a repeat of the chorus. It's the same as it was before.
Yep.
And then you've got the bridge. The bridge is everybody say nothing come too easy. But when you got it, baby, nothing come too hard. You see what I'm all about? See what I'm all about? If I gotta scream and shout, if I gotta scream and shout, baby. And then he just repeats baby, baby, and he gets more emphatic with each baby.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I didn't have to do that for this one.
I'm here to support you.
Yes. And that was full 100% support there because I can't do those screams.
I can't either.
Most people
No
can't,
way.
right? I mean,
No.
But but it is the bridge is fun to sing along to. I mean, because once again the grammar isn't proper here. It doesn't matter. It's really not sung. It's more of like Prince in his just like very casual. Like I'm not speaking to the press. I'm not speaking to somebody who's going to quote me. This is just me talking with my friends and just talking with people who get me, and I can just relax a bit. And here's the kind of, the grammar that I'm using when I'm just relaxing. I don't really give a crap about your proper grammar. When you got it, baby, nothing come too hard.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody say nothing come too easy. So those are technically improper grammar there, but it doesn't matter. The sentiment's exactly the same. And with the second line, you're just basically getting out of that is, when you have as much talent as I have, all this stuff that is very difficult for most people, I can kind of do it with one hand tied behind my back, so to speak.
Yeah, Yes, minimal effort
Minimal.
begets maximum reward.
Hmm.
That doesn't have quite as cool of a sound to it as everybody say nothing come too easy.
But when you got it, baby, nothing comes too hard. So yeah, those two lines together just once again just bring a smile to your face because you kind of get it. It's like he's not wrong. He's not
Totally,
wrong.
like there's like an adorable confidence. Like you can be, I don't know. There's this it quality, right? That you can do these things and not come off as unlikable. He still comes off as cocky, but it's like this endearing kind of cocky.
Yeah, yeah, because it's not like he's putting other people down to
Hmm.
build himself up. This is all just self promotion, like you said, and just expounding on his talents, which were there. It's one thing if somebody is building up themselves. It's something that they're not.
True.
We know, and we're starting to get a glimpse of that, in 83, 84, that the stuff that he was saying he was in this song, he wasn't wrong. I mean, he had it, quote unquote, it. When you got it, baby, nothing come too hard. He had it. And not everybody has it. It doesn't matter how good you are as a singer or composer or guitarist or keyboardist. There's also an it factor that is needed.
Right. I mean, if it's the truth, it ain't bragging.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. And that's why I think it doesn't come off as being too cocky or being, kind of grossly self-promoting. It's because it's not. It's one song. It's meant to be it's kind of meant to be also just a fun joke. I think in
Hmm.
some ways.
Yeah, a little bit
I
of
don't, I
humor.
don't take it too seriously. It's like, here, let me sing a really serious song about how talented I am.
That's right.
It's not serious. It's a fun song. So all these lyrics that are talking about his talents and how he's going to be a star, and this is why, because he had it, and nothing comes too hard when you have it. But at the same time, we also know that he did work very hard
Yeah.
for what he did and how he got where he was. So that's why I don't take it too seriously, and nobody really should, I don't think.
Totally.
But then, yeah, the screams are great at the end. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's just, you can, at least I do, when the song is being played, I sing along with that and I just do my best.
Oh yeah, especially if I'm alone. Actually, that's the only time when I do it. If I'm alone, I'll do my best. If I'm
Yeah.
with someone else, I don't bother.
I might do it in the car with my family around just because they know that, I'm the kind of guy that's going to do a Prince song with them.
Okay. Yeah.
But outside of my family unit, so to speak, I don't think I would do like this. Wouldn't be a karaoke song for me.
Yeah. No, it requires a little too much.
Yeah, because you can't just stand there, right? You can't just stand there and sing the song and just there's a visual expectation to go along with it, like some sort of dancing moves. I'm not gonna do the splits, but if you're
Yeah.
gonna,
Well, and you're literally asking people to look you over and tell you if they like what they see, and some people don't want to have that answered.
yeah, and he's totally vamping this song up during the performance in the film. He's got his all the sorts of moves that he's been exhibiting up to this point. I mean, he's dancing, he's splitting, he's jumping off of amps. Then you've got at the very end, he grabs his guitar. He's got that impish look on his face, like, "Ooh, am I doing
Yeah.
something naughty?"
Yeah.
And then
we
he
we're gonna
grabs his
do that.
guitar.
Oh yeah,
And
even the end of the song, the freeze frame with him like looking over his shoulder and the light emanating from behind his head and creating those crazy starburst shadows that it's just like totally iconic now.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly how the movie ends before it
Yeah.
goes to credits.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the bridge, and then we get what do we get after that? We get some more chorus. Might not know it
Dude.
now, beat by IR, and he doesn't really do anything different with the chorus at any point.
Yeah.
And then we get like more of this, like the extension of the musical aspects of the song,
Hmm.
and I get a little bit of like I don't know, maybe like a James Brown vibe towards the end of this when he's calling out members of his band. I mean, he really only just calls out Dr. Fink, but
Yeah, he calls out somebody, and then Dr.
Yeah,
Fink by
right.
name. So
Yeah. Well, only when he says doctor, then you
yeah.
get the Dr. Fink. And that was before I knew who the members of the Revolution were.
Oh, okay.
That line when he called out doctor, that confused me. But then I started seeing videos, and you saw the guy in the scrubs. I'm like, I bet you that's doctor.
Yeah, it all starts to come together, right?
Yeah, it definitely came together at that point.
The whole instrumental ending where you have he pauses once and gives you that breathy, oh, and then doctor, and there's like three of those that have this instrumental synth thing that kind of gets more intense each time, is really what hooked me on the song. I just thought it was super cool.
Yeah, you don't really know when it's going to end. You don't know at one point he's going to just finish it and say, okay, here's the ending. Then he pauses. Then he says something else to keep the song going.
Right.
And that's when you get that great Dr. Fink synth solo instead of a guitar solo.
Yes. Yeah.
And also, as already kind of brought up in the film, this is his moment to kind of get the rest of the band involved. He doesn't call out everybody, but there's points in the song where he's dancing with Wendy and brought Mark, and Bobby and Lisa don't get as much to do in the song, but Doctor gets his own synth solo, which is cool.
Does he put his hat on Wendy at the end of this song too? Yeah, kind of dresses her up real cute, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's got the luxury of being like up front and center.
Yeah, next to him. Yeah.
Bobby and Lisa and Doctor are in the back because they've got big bulky instruments to. I mean, he resolves that later with Tommy Barbarella in the NPG era when he's got
the keytar,
and he's able to get out from behind that big bulky keyboard and jam out with the rest of the band. But back in 1984, they were still Lisa was stuck behind that thing, and she can only just blow her bangs out of her eyes and
that's right. Maybe smoke a cigarette.
and smoke cigarettes, yeah. But yeah, I mean, the end of the song is really fun and cool, but there's not much in the way of lyrics. And then you get the backward message again, which is repeated exactly the same as it was in the beginning. So it's not a new message; it's just the same thing.
Yeah,
the song
exactly the same.
Yeah, the song begins and ends essentially the same way, with the same music and the same backward message, and that's the song. And then you hear a little bit. Then you hear a little bit of crowd applause at the end, before you're moving on to the much more somber Purple Rain.
Yeah, very not a big crowd. Do you hear either? You don't. He's clearly. That was the one thing I thought. Well, he could have added crowd noise or made this sound like a much bigger performance, but it still seems like, or it still sounds like at the end that it's a small club performance, almost a little underground still, which makes sense for someone claiming to be on the verge of hitting it big. It wouldn't have made sense to have this uproarious, tens of thousands of people screaming at the end of the song. It sounds like maybe a few hundred, not tens of thousands.
Yeah, it is a pretty small crowd sound at the end. Who knows if it was bigger when it was recorded live in August of '83 at First Ave and they just kind of pared it down, or they just took a portion of it in the overdub section, or the overdub process to throw in there. I don't know how that all worked out for. Who knows? Those are just kind of studio tricks and studio secrets. We'll maybe never know. It's okay.
That's cool.
It is cool, and this song is cool as hell. I love this song.
Me too.
Yeah, that's Baby I'm a Star, essentially. As I mentioned, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy at a time when he was hungry for stardom and fame, and he got it. Right? Which is a great time for this song to be present on an album that essentially made him a global phenomenon. To have a song like Baby I'm a Star, it's just totally fitting. If this would have been on Dirty Mind or Controversy, I don't know.
Yeah, you're probably overstating it there, bud.
Yeah, but it just...
right song at the right time, it seemed like.
It was the right song at the right time, and I just, like I said, I smile every time I hear it. It doesn't matter how many times I've heard this song. It never fails to make me happy, which is a sign of a great party song.
Yeah, me too. And I don't, and maybe it's because I've been listening to it for, 35 years, however long it's been, but it doesn't ever sound real dated to me. Like it doesn't sound like a typical 1980s song. Maybe it's because it was the live studio thing that kind of happened with this one, but it's simple, but pretty timeless.
Yeah, I think it's very timeless. It has an appeal to it that, and he played it live throughout his career.
Hmm.
So Prince felt like this song was still relevant at different points in his career and still enjoyable enough to continue performing.
Definitely, yeah. I didn't realize how often or how many cover versions there were of this either. There's one by Tina Turner.
Yeah, I was going to say,
There's
fill me in.
Oh, Tina Turner's got a cover version of it. Buddy Miles has a cover version of it that's kind of more of a bluesy kind of thing. And P. Diddy, who I'm not a giant fan of, but went and found, he's got a song called Special Feeling from 2006 that is completely based on the beat and the melody of Baby I'm a Star.
Okay.
So check those out. I did, and P Diddy. I told I told Christy, well, it was listenable to me. I could listen to it from start to finish.
All right, well, check it out. I will listen to it just because I like to hear people's takes on Prince music, even if I never like decide that's superior,
Yeah,
which is like almost never the case. But I still like it's interesting to me to see who he's influenced.
yeah,
I mean, to cover him, you have to value the music that Prince made. So even if you're not into the reinterpretation, at least you can say like, okay, well, obviously Sean Combs is a fan of Prince because why
oh,
else
yeah,
would you use "Baby I'm a Star," a song that had been 30 years old at the time or 20 years old when he recorded it in 2006? He said,
yeah,
yeah, it's about 22 years old at the time. It wasn't a new song. It wasn't relevant. It wasn't like chasing a trend.
yeah. And he wasn't anyone who needed the help of someone else's popularity either. He was, doing just fine.
Yeah, exactly. So he must have done it because he was a fan of
Yeah.
Prince. So that's cool.
Yep, it is cool.
All right. Well, Josh, I think we'll call it. Why don't you tell the listeners what you're up to on your podcast?
Oh, sure. Well, my wife, Christy, and I have a podcast. It's called The Mountains and the Sea, which you mentioned earlier. You can find us on Facebook at The Mountains and the Sea, a Prince podcast, and also on Twitter at TMATS Podcast, TMATS. Our format is we listen to start with an album and go track by track, and we each listen to it separately, make a point of not talking about our own opinions until we sit down to record the podcast. And then we pick a mountain, which is a high point, and a sea, which is a low point for us from that particular album. Or it might be a set of B-sides or a live show or a related artist album that kind of fits into that period. We just finished up what seemed like about 7.5 years that we spent on 1999 Super Deluxe. And then we're going to launch into a podcast series starting with the Rainbow Children to try to coincide with the reissue, which has now been pushed back till May. But we're still going to ride on the coattails of that a little bit and touch on the Rainbow Children and One Night Alone, piano and live, and some other material during that 2001-2002 period.
Okay. Great. Yeah, check them out. Mountains in the Sea. I liked all of the 1999 episodes, the Super Deluxe episodes. There were a lot, but there's a lot of music there, so I get it.
Yeah, it's a ton. It is a ton. And as much as I loved it, I've got to tell you, I'm so glad to come on here and talk to you about this song and start a podcast about some other topic.
Yeah. I understand that.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, after a while, you're just like ready to move on to the next thing. Just like Prince always was ready to move on to the next thing. So now we know how he felt.
We know exactly how he felt. Totally.
Without question.
Well, we love listening to your show. We're big fans, and both of us are thrilled to come on whenever you have an opening. We're ready.
Okay. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate that.
You bet.
All right. Well, thanks again, Josh. And I wanted to say thanks to the listeners as I'm starting to get towards the end of my Purple Rain journey. I still am going to do all the B-sides, so So check those out when they come up. And yeah, this has been Jason Brenninger for the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics podcast. You can check me out at Press Rewind 75 on Twitter and Instagram, and I also have a Facebook page as well. I appreciate you all for listening. Thank you very much, and until next time, goodbye.